Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The Galactic Empire laughed at Earth's prototypes, until one ship wiped out their fleet. Grand Admiral Krellis stood on the observation deck of the Imperial dreadnought Inevitable Conquest, his forearms clasped behind his back as he gazed at the holographic display of the Milky Way galaxy. The spectacular view showed tens of thousands of stars marked with the purple insignia of the Tharixian Empire, 97% of the known galaxy, to be precise, and the number grew every solar cycle with another successful annexation. Grand Admiral, announced Commander Krellis as she entered the chamber, her scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the hologram. The Grenin system has surrendered after minimal resistance. Their resources will be processed within the standard 30-day period. Chris barely acknowledged her with a nod. These small victories hardly deserved recognition anymore. When you've conquered nearly an entire galaxy, the addition of yet another insignificant star system was about as exciting as cataloging space debris. How thrilling, he replied, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Let me guess, they threw some pathetically outdated plasma weapons at us, realized we could obliterate their entire civilization with a single volley, then promptly begged for mercy while offering up whatever meager resources they possessed. I'm practically overcome with excitement. Commander Tharixian shifted uncomfortably. Even after serving under Krellis for 17 cycles, she was accustomed to his particular brand of boredom-induced cynicism. The Empire's overwhelming technological superiority had made conquest so routine that it had become, frankly, boring. Actually, sir, they didn't even have plasma weapons, mostly chemical propellants and a handful of nuclear missiles. Primitive stuff, even by backwater standards. Chris let out a sound that was half laugh, half sigh. Of course they did, because why would anyone bother developing actual defenses against the most powerful military force in the known universe? Sometimes I wonder why we even maintain this fleet, Tharixian. We could probably conquer the remaining 3% of the galaxy with a strongly worded message and a couple of mining drones. The commander brought up another hologram showing a detailed report of the Grenin acquisition. The science division believes their planet contains significant deposits of uranium. It could be valuable for the newer hyperspace drives. Oh goody, Kiss remarked, rolling all three of his eyes simultaneously. More uranium. That's exactly what we need, not like we haven't already stockpiled enough to fuel our ships for the next 10 millennia. He waved a dismissive hand through the hologram, causing it to shimmer and distort. Tell me, Commander, when was the last time we encountered a species that actually presented a challenge? That made conquest interesting. Tharixian consulted her neural implant, the small light behind her ear pulsing as she accessed the Imperial military archives. The Excellent Resistance put up a respectable fight about 73 cycles ago. Their quantum shielding technology was quite advanced. Yes, for about 6 hours, Chris countered with a snort. Then our engineers reverse-engineered it, improved it, and used it against them. The Excellence now clean waste reclamation units on mining outposts. He turned away from the galactic display, his massive frame casting long shadows across the polished obsidian floor. The problem with being part of an unstoppable military force was that victory became tedious, predictable. The Tharixian Empire had conquered so thoroughly and for so long that warfare had been reduced to a bureaucratic exercise rather than a glorious endeavor. Sometimes, Tharixian, he said, his voice unexpectedly thoughtful, I wonder if there's anyone out there who might actually surprise us. Some undiscovered species with the audacity and ingenuity to make us work for our victories again. Commander Tharixian was about to offer a platitude about the glory of the Empire when the emergency communication channel activated, projecting the harried face of Science Officer Barth into the center of the room. Grand Admiral, we've detected an unusual signal from an uncharted region of the galactic arm. It appears to be artificial in origin, emanating from a yellow dwarf star system previously classified as uninhabited. For the first time in years, Krellis felt something like genuine interest stir within him. Well now, he said, his mandibles clicking with sudden anticipation, it might be worth investigating. Humans, Science Officer Barth pronounced the word awkwardly, as if it were stuck between his mandibles. That's what they call themselves. A bipedal species with an unhealthy obsession with their reproductive organs and catastrophically short attention spans. The high command of the Tharixian Empire had gathered in the strategic planning chamber of the inevitable conquest. Holographic displays showed various images of Earth and its inhabitants, captured by stealth probes over the preceding months. Grand Admiral Krellis leaned forward, scrutinizing the footage of humans going about their daily lives. And they've achieved spaceflight with that level of technology, barely snorted General Dras Morvan, the Empire's foremost tactical expert. He manipulated the hologram to show one of Earth's primitive space vessels. Look at this contraption. It's using chemical propellants. Chemical. They're basically strapping themselves to controlled explosions and hoping for the best. The room erupted in laughter. Even Krellis couldn't help but join in, his booming guffaw drowning out the others. You can't be serious, he said, wiping moisture from his central eye. That's not a spacecraft. That's a suicide booth. Their species must have an extraordinary tolerance for risk, or they're simply too stupid to comprehend it. Commander Toes, ever the pragmatist, brought up another display. They've only reached their own satellite and sent unmanned probes to nearby planets in their system. Their most advanced ships can't even achieve 1% of light speed. Fascinating how they've survived this long, remarked Admiral Zth Carnes, stroking his facial tentacles thoughtfully. Their planet appears to have undergone at least 5 mass extinction events, yet here they are, building toys they call spaceships and broadcasting their existence to anyone listening. Barth cleared his throat, a habit he developed after studying too many hominid species. There is something unusual about their development curve. Most species take at least 3 millennia to advance from basic agriculture to rudimentary space travel. These humans did it in under 10 centuries. A statistical anomaly. Dismissed, General Morvan said with a wave of his armored claw. Or faulty data. Either way, they're hardly worth our attention. The hologram shifted to show intercontinental nuclear missiles. Chris raised an eyebrow ridge. They've developed nuclear weaponry but still fight amongst themselves. How charmingly primitive. They're divided into roughly 200 political entities called nations, explained Barth. They spend considerable resources trying to kill each other over ideological differences, resource distribution, and historical grievances. Admiral Carnes shook his head in disbelief. So they haven't even achieved planetary unification yet. They're reaching for the stars. The audacity is almost admirable. Or laughable, countered General Morvan. Remind me again why we're wasting a strategic planning session on these creatures. Kiss manipulated the hologram, zooming in on Earth's blue oceans and green continents. Something about these humans nagged at him, a feeling he couldn't quite place. Standard protocol demands we evaluate all newly discovered sentient species for potential threats or benefits to the Empire. Threats? General Morvan couldn't contain another burst of laughter. What are they going to do, throw rocks at our battle cruisers? Nevertheless, Krellis continued, ignoring the interruption, we'll establish a monitoring station in their outer system. These humans may be primitive, but their planet is resource-rich and strategically positioned. He deactivated the hologram with a flick of his wrist. Keep me updated on any significant developments, but don't waste resources on extensive surveillance. They're millennia from becoming relevant to Imperial interests. As the meeting adjourned, Commander Terras approached Kiss privately. You seemed almost interested in these humans, Admiral. More than standard protocol would require. Kiss watched the other officers file out of the chamber before responding. Just a feeling, Commander. Something about their development curve troubles me, but General Morvan is probably right. They're nothing more than an amusing curiosity. How wrong he would turn out to be. They're doing what? Grand Admiral Krellis nearly spat out his stimulant beverage, purple liquid splattering across the tactical display. Lieutenant Dra Tekken, who had drawn the short straw for delivering the latest Earth monitoring report, took a nervous step backward. They appear to be developing a new class of spacecraft, sir. One with unconventional propulsion systems. 3 solar cycles had passed since the discovery of Earth. What had begun as a routine surveillance operation had evolved into something of a comedy show for the monitoring station crew. The humans' primitive attempts at space exploration provided endless entertainment for the bored Tharixian officers stationed at the edge of the Sol system. "Show me," Krellis demanded, settling back into his command chair. The lieutenant activated the hologram, showing grainy footage captured by long-range sensors. A cylindrical vessel, perhaps 200 meters long, hovered above Earth's atmosphere. No visible thrusters, no exhaust plumes, just hovering. "What am I looking at, Lieutenant? Some kind of anti-gravity tech?" "That's what we initially thought, sir, but our analysis suggests something far more absurd." Tekken brought up the sensor readings. "They appear to be attempting to manipulate spacetime itself, using principles that vaguely resemble theoretical warp mechanics, but with, well, frankly, sir, it's like watching a child try to build a quantum computer with rocks and sticks." Commander Toes, who had been quietly observing, approached the display. "They're trying to create an FTL drive? With their level of technology? That's ambitious." "Ambitious?" Krellis let out a barking laugh. "It's suicidal. They barely understand basic particle physics. Even the Zillaxians, with their 10,000 years of scientific advancement, couldn't crack true FTL without our guidance." The word guidance hung in the air, a euphemism for the brutal conquest that had preceded the absorption of Zilhaxian technology. Tekken brought up another image, this one showing a different prototype ship. "This one's even more perplexing, sir. Our sensors detect massive energy readings, but we can't identify the source. It doesn't match any known reactor type in our database." "A sensor malfunction," Chris dismissed with a wave. "Their power generation capabilities are limited to fusion at best, and primitive fusion at that." "With respect, Admiral," Tavares interjected, "we've checked the sensors. The readings are accurate. Whatever they're testing, it's producing energy outputs that shouldn't be possible with their technological level." Kiss narrowed all 3 eyes. "Have they launched any of these prototypes?" "Short test flights only," Tekken replied. "Lunar orbit and back. But they're building more, at least 7 different designs that we've identified, each more bizarre than the last." The Admiral drummed his clawed fingers against the armrest, creating a rhythmic clicking that everyone in the command center recognized as a sign of his irritation. "And how has the Science Division explained this unexpected acceleration in their technological development?" Toes and Tekken exchanged uncomfortable glances. "They haven't, sir," Terrace finally admitted. "The leading theory involves possible contamination, perhaps they salvaged alien technology or received outside assistance." "From whom?" Krellis demanded. "We control this entire sector. There are no spacefaring civilizations within 1,000 light-years that aren't already under our boot." "Perhaps from a previously unknown species, Admiral," suggested Tekken. "Or something else." Chris stood abruptly, towering over his subordinates. "I want continuous monitoring of these prototypes. Every test flight, every energy spike, every communication regarding their development. If they're receiving outside help, I want to know who and why." He turned to stare at the holographic image of Earth rotating serenely in space. "And increase our military presence in the sector. Quietly. These humans are still primitive, but they've suddenly become much more interesting." "The humans have named their flagship prototype, Phoenix Rising," reported Fleet Commander Jacker Wren, his holographic image flickering slightly as it projected across 20 light-years of space. "They've conducted 3 more test flights in the past month, each one venturing farther into their system. Grand Admiral Kiss stood before the Imperial War Council. 17 of the Empire's highest-ranking military leaders gathered in the obsidian-walled chamber deep within the Tharixian homeworld. The room hummed with tension and the subtle vibration of power conduits feeding the massive holographic display dominating the center of the room. "And you believe this warrants a full invasion fleet?" asked High General Traz Voss skeptically, her ancient, scarred face contorted in a grimace. "A species that only recently discovered how to leave their own atmosphere?" Chris gestured to the holographic display, which shifted to show detailed scans of Earth's surface. "It's not their technological advancement that interests me, though that remains suspiciously rapid. It's this." And the hologram zoomed in on geographical features, highlighting mineral deposits with pulsing red markers. "The planet is extraordinarily rich in rare elements. Uranium, yes, but also significant deposits of quantium and phase crystals." The council members stirred at the mention of phase crystals. The exotic mineral was essential for the Empire's newest weapons systems, and natural deposits were increasingly difficult to find. "More importantly," Krellis continued, "our long-range scans have detected trace amounts of eternite." A hushed silence fell over the council. Eternite was the rarest substance known to the Empire, a crystalline material that could store virtually unlimited energy and remain stable under conditions that would obliterate most matter. The Empire's entire stockpile could fit in a standard cargo container. High Admiral Salera Vex leaned forward, her cybernetic eye whirring as it focused. "Confirmed eternite deposits? Not just trace readings?" "Preliminary only," Chris admitted, "but even the possibility warrants investigation and acquisition." "So this isn't about these humans at all," General Voss said with a knowing smirk. "It's a simple resource grab cloaked in strategic necessity." Chris's mandibles clicked in irritation. "The resource value is undeniable, but I remain concerned about these prototypes. Their development curve is unprecedented." Commander Taris, standing to Chris's right, brought up new footage. Their latest test flight achieved velocities approaching 5% light speed. "Their progress is accelerating." "Fascinating," drawled Admiral Craig Zuro sarcastically. "They might reach our level of technology in what, another 1,000 years?" Laughter rippled through the council chamber. "Nevertheless," Kiss pressed on, "I propose a moderate invasion force. The 7th Battle Group should be sufficient, 3 dreadnoughts, 12 cruisers, and the usual complement of support vessels. Overwhelming force, minimal risk." High General Vkos nodded slowly. "A reasonable precaution, though likely excessive." "What's the invasion timeline?" "I've already ordered the 7th Battle Group to begin mobilization," Chris replied. "They'll reach Earth in approximately 6 standard months, more than enough time for us to gather additional intelligence and prepare the appropriate resource extraction infrastructure." The council voted unanimously to approve the invasion plan. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Vex approached Chris privately. "You seem unusually fixated on these humans, Chris. Is there something you're not sharing with the council?" Chris watched the hologram of Earth rotate slowly, its blue oceans glimmering. "Just a feeling, Sarah. Something about their development trajectory troubles me. It's too efficient, too directed." "Paranoia doesn't suit you," she said with a thin smile. "They're primitives with delusions of grandeur. 6 months from now, there'll be another footnote in the Empire's expansion, and you'll have moved on to more worthy challenges." Kiss nodded, but the nagging doubt remained. "Perhaps you're right, but I've learned to trust my instincts. They've kept me alive for 3 centuries of conquest. And made you somewhat superstitious in your old age," she teased, before her tone turned serious. "The 7th Battle Group is one of our finest. If these humans were 1,000 times more advanced than they appear to be, they still wouldn't stand a chance." If only she knew how terribly wrong she was. Battle stations. "This is not a drill." The klaxons aboard the Imperial dreadnought Indomitable Might screamed with an urgency that Captain Dries Kronos had never heard in his 2 centuries of military service. Red emergency lighting bathed the command deck in an ominous glow as officers scrambled to their positions. Report. He barked, striding to the tactical station where his second-in-command stood frozen in shock. Sir, it's impossible, Commander Ilix VN stammered, her typically unflappable demeanor shattered.